Question number one, aren't we supposed to stay away from the traditions and the doctrines of man and only keep the commandments of God? Now, that is a question that is very limited in scope. It's a great question, but we have to look at both the 30,000-foot view, which that question is, and then we have to zoom in and use what I call the law of extrapolation and find out if that question, how true that question is in real time. Okay, so let's talk about this. First of all, in Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 30 and 31, it tells us, do not worship the Lord in any other way that he tells us and prescribes for us. Now, there's a lot of folks out there that are really smart that have taken this, and they're so left brain. And what do I mean by that? Very analytical. The left side of the brain is very analytical, very logic and reason centered. And the right side of the brain is very creative. It's the part of us that creates all the painters and the artists and worship artists and musicians come from the right side. And what we want to do is want to meld the two together, because if you use so much logic that you forget about real life and how to meld the logic into real life, then you've broken the scriptures. This is the point of John 4:24 when he says the Spirit that wants you to worship. The Father is looking for those that'll worship him in spirit and in truth. So we're going to take the right side of the brain, take the left side of the brain, take the scriptures, take the Spirit, and put them together. What does this mean? This means in the context of Deuteronomy chapter 12, it's talking about the pagans, okay, a pagan idolatry and worship, and he did not want Yahweh's people borrowing from their practices and saying, sacrificing infants in a fire is a good idea. Let's do that unto Yahweh. Yahweh says, look, no, don't even inquire to how they worship their gods to get ideas on how to worship me. Do it in the way that I told you how to do it. All right, so that's the concern and the concept. He is not limiting his people to, okay, you have to worship with only animals, and you can only do this, and you can never sing worship to me, because, by the way, he never commanded you to sing worship songs to him. So he permits it, but there's no commandment that tells us, okay, you need to gather together, you need to sing 6 worship songs. There's no commandment for how a service goes, a church service or a synagogue service goes. Those are traditions. So the reason why I'm taking the time right up front to deal with this is to let the audience know, to let you know that there's nothing wrong with traditions. Everything we do in life, when you get up in the morning and you take a shower, that's not a commandment, that's your tradition. So at the end of the day, almost everything that we do in the cycle of our day and our life is a tradition. It may not be a religious tradition, but it is a tradition. And so, although it seems like common sense, sometimes those that are so left brain and analytical forget the common sense that if you remove everything from the worship of the one true God and only do what's found in the Bible in actual commandments, then by default you must be true to your own philosophy and theology and remove every single tradition that you practice. You wouldn't be able to celebrate your birthday. You wouldn't be able to celebrate your anniversary. You wouldn't be able to have a wedding ring. You wouldn't even be able to have a wedding, period, because all of those are traditions. And the list is infinite, as you can imagine. So I think I've hit that enough. But first and foremost, we absolutely can keep traditions as long as they don't transgress the commandment. Mark chapter 7, Yeshua made it very clear. You put aside the commandments of God for your traditions. He never had any problem with traditions at all. Clearly, there were so many things that Yeshua did that was tradition. Even Paul himself made it very clear. He said in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 15, therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold to the traditions which you were taught, whether by word or our epistle or letter. In other words, they were passing down to their congregants, their converts, traditions and commandments. Why? Because traditions are very powerful in conveying the truth. Tradition that does not break scripture, that is not borrowed from worship of other gods, is all fair and good and blessed by God, especially if it's a tradition that does not break scripture, draws his people closer to him, and glorifies his name, which I believe Hanukkah most certainly does, as I hope that you will see as we move forward here.
If this video has blessed you, I encourage you to watch this video and this video as well, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on those notifications so you don't miss a single video that we put out here at Passion for Truth. Until then, I'm Jim Staley, and I'll see you in the next video.